Welcome to a new Daily Top AskReddit video. Today's topic:
how did the kid from your school die? Playing along a fast-moving creek deep in the woods. First teen gets pulled under really fast. Second one immediately runs and dives in to find him. A minute later, first teen comes back up on the other side. Exhausted but thankfully unhurt. Guy who went in to find him was not coming back up. Was in the days before cell phones. Had to run a good mile back up the trail. Hop in the car, drive to the nearby park ranger office, East Texas Big Thicket area, and report, get help, along with guide rescuers. Took about 30 minutes total to get back out there to the accident. Still no sign of him. Rescue workers found that under the higher waters were tons of plant, tree debris everywhere. 2 days of removal while still trying to control fast-moving waters, his body was finally found. He had dived too deep trying to find the first friend, getting trapped under the submerged branches, without enough energy or breath to fight against the current to get out and back up. He was only 15. It really sucks that he died, but it says a lot about him for how he died. Trying to save his friend. Yep. World lost a good person. Saw his friend in need and didn't hesitate to risk his own life trying to help. Tragic. Oof, that's horrible. Reminds me of the story where this guy's dog fell in the water. He went in after his dog and drowned. The dog was able to get itself to safety loudly crying. I keep wondering what happened to Alex Pranatajaja who sat behind me in high school. Water safety PSA. Always be more cautious than you think you need to be around strainers. Large obstructions in moving water, i.e. tree branches, root systems, piles of debris. Strainers are deadly whether it's a huge river with fast-moving water and white water or a more mild river that doesn't pose a threat. Never underestimate the force of water and the risk of strainers. Of all things, an unfortunate camping accident. This was before cell phones. 2 friends went out for the weekend to a campground for some fishing over the weekend. When they didn't arrive home at the time they said they would. The parents called the provincial park to see if they were running a bit late. The weather wasn't great and the camp was about an hour away from town, so it was entirely possible they decided to stay another night and drive out in the morning instead. The park warden stumbled upon their campsite and found both of them dead in their shared tent. Turns out it was a cool night and they decided to run a small heater in the tent to be warm. But it was an old heater that didn't have a shut-off sensor built in. The heater ran all night while they were asleep, and since they didn't open the flaps on their tent for air circulation, because they wanted to trap the heat, the tent filled with carbon monoxide and suffocated them in their sleep. So sad. And a week before school too. I have seen a lot of death in my line of work. I used to be a forensic investigator. I have seen every way to turn a person into pink goo or burned crisps. The CO poisoning cases always get me though. Just a life interrupted and ended. Everything is all there like normal. But there's dead people there. The CO cases bother me much more than fire cases or meat crayons. There was a story in Australia a few years ago. 2 young boys died in their sleep. The mother was suspected to have killed them. Her ex-husband, the boys' father, stood by her saying she would never harm the boys. She ended up in hospital from CO poisoning as she was still staying in the house. It was a faulty heater that was slowly killing them. The boys died first because their bodies were much smaller. The mums survived. Her and her ex-husband do a lot of campaigning about getting old heaters tested. Truly awful story. Fight with another kid. Got punched in the head, hit the ground, lights out. I was friends with both of them. Edit. For those asking what happened to the other kid, I don't know. I never saw him again. He was 11, which is too young for juvenile detention in California. Had a similar thing happen in my school. Some of the boys were out back behind the school smoking during lunch break. One kid, like grade 7 to 8-ish, was pestering everyone for a smoke before trying to grab one from an older student's hand. Grade 11 to 12-ish. An older kid gave him a punch to the head. Not a very hard one, mind you, it was more like roughhousing than an actual attempt at violence. Kid was fine. Gave back the ciggy after taking a few puffs. Lunch ended and everyone went back to classes. Then about an hour or so later the kid just drops from his seat in the middle of class not breathing. Teacher performs CPR while another student runs to the office to get him to call an ambulance, but he was dead before they could get there. The little love tap he got earlier caused a bleed on the brain. Ruptured an aneurysm that was already there. It's scary that such a weak blow to the head can be fatal. And it's not like the kid lived in a bubble or anything. He was into BMX and ice hockey and other sports. How many times had he fallen off his bike or been slammed to the ice with that ticking time bomb in his brain? Edit. Since him getting asked a lot. The older boy who threw the punch did not get into any trouble. The parents did try to have him charged with something, but nothing stuck since there was no evidence of prior bullying, violence between them. No intent to cause harm or excessive force. And no real proof that the aneurysm ruptured due to the punch. A sneeze or bad cough could have set it off. I wasn't close with them or anyone who really knew them, so I don't know if the older kid felt any guilt or had any issues afterwards. But he did attend the church service held for all the grieving students. A fall to the ice could definitely have set that ticking time bomb in motion to begin with. My brother has a cavernous malformation in his brain. Basically a void around a vein. Doctor says nothing might ever happen with it, or one day it might rupture and you most likely will die. Only reason he found out is that my brother took a headbutt in soccer on his ear one time. Two guys going up for a header. Brother ended up with a wicked concussion. In the hospital vomiting, just generally out of it. They scanned his head while in the hospital. In the 24 previous years he had been hit in the head too many times for so many other things. And had been in the hospital a few times at this point for some other serious conditions. But sometimes it's just bad luck on when you will go. Happened to a kid from my school too. A couple years after graduation, he was 20. Another 20-year-old punched him, he went down, head hit the curb, and he's dead. The parents wanted the guy that killed him to go to jail for life, but he only got 4.5 years. IDK how I'd feel if it was my son who died, but imagine punching a guy once and he dies. I don't think murder is what he set out to do. Sucks all around. I don't think murder is what he set out to do. Probably counts as assault and manslaughter. Not murder. But I'm no lawyer, so who knows? There's a really good documentary about people that have, accidentally, killed someone with one punch. What is the name of the documentary?